What's up, guys? Welcome back. So picked up the Teraflex leveling kit, the 1.5-inch kit for the Gladiator. So it comes with a 1-inch and then a 1/2-inch puck essentially that goes over the top, and then of course a bump stop in the bottom. So we're gonna head and do that. Today I went through and marked on the fender my before height at 35.5 to this little button right here, and 30.25 on the lower end here, and pretty much had the same figures on the other side. So I'm gonna go through and get them installed, see how it looks. I'm not changing tires, so we should really be able to see what kind of difference we get in height, and then probably gonna see if I can find a set of 35s or a 315 7017 for a pretty decent cheap price on Facebook Marketplace, and we'll go from there. So let's get started. Made a critical error. Got the tires off the ground without breaking the lug nuts first, so that was fun. All right, so now that I got the wheels off and the jack stands underneath the axle, we have to start undoing a few things. So 18mm bolt here on the sway bar end link, 21 on the track bar, and then another 18 with an 18-inch box end wrench on the other side for the sway bar end link on that side. So we're gonna get those done now. So now that the sway bar and the track bar is undone, you've got to undo the two bolts here at the brake line. actually pretty easy. Then our next thing to do is undo the 2 shocks, just at the bottom. So we're gonna do that next. So once you do that, you have to then loosen the upper control arms and lower control arm bolts, 18s on the top, and then 21, 24 at the bottom. And then at that point, you can kind of slowly check over everything, undo this, give yourself some room on the other side with the clips and stuff like that. And then of course we put the spacer in. So the spacer, what we do is, hopefully we can see this. Pull this guy down, slips right in position with this guy here. You take the 1 inch on the bottom and then the 1/2 inch on the top, and it lines up right with these 2 little notches here, which then go back in place and line back up with the notches up top. And then at that point, they pretty much stay in place. So then you'll toss this back in, make sure everything's all where it needs to be, and then head to the other side. This might take you a couple minutes when you're doing this, but you got to get the axle down far enough that you've got some play with your spring here, get everything all lined up, get all those pins kind of connected in the place that they need to be, so that way then once you start putting the axle back up in the air, you're good. You also want to make sure that your spring is properly seated, so that way you're not going to have any issues. And now on to the other side. All right, so then at that point, putting it all back together is pretty much just the opposite of what you did in the first place. So get the axle back up in the air, make sure everything is seated properly where it's supposed to, get your shock bolt back in, get your bracket on there, get your sway bar in, get everything in place, and then you have to wait until you get the track bar bolt put in. Once you get it on the ground, you may need a friend or somebody else to kind of help you wiggle the truck a little bit to get that bolt through. And then at that point, just go back and make sure once it's on the ground, all of your torque specs are to factory, which happens to come into the Teraflex manual, so it makes it real easy. So let me finish buttoning this up, and then we'll get it on the ground and show you what it looks like. So as I'm putting the bump stops in there, a little bit of a pain in the butt, I found out that this takes a while to thread this on here. So if you take a 6mm socket set, impact, like I've got a drill gun, and a 14 on this end, you can run it in. That way it cuts through all the paint that's on it. Then at that point, when you go to thread it on, it threads on very easy. So struggle with the first side, so I'm gonna try the second side here and see what happens. But we're getting close. Well, it's been about 45 minutes, and probably noticed as I was trying to put that bolt back together, it seemed like it didn't want to go together properly. Well, guess what? It cross-threaded. So, had to run to the hardware store, buy another bolt, and another washer, and another nut, so I can put it back together. But one little trick for this side is there is a 10mm bolt right here. Hopefully you can kind of see it, but if you take that out, it gives you a little bit better access underneath where this bump stop goes. So that's probably your best bet. Take that out, put that in there. I had to take the shock and the sway bar and stuff like that all back apart just to mess with it. So put that bump stop in before you do everything. I'll try to edit this video so that way I put a note in there that this should be finalized first before you start putting everything back together. But at this point, we're going to put everything back together now that was taken apart and put back together again once. So going to finish up and hopefully be almost done. All right, so got everything back together, got the wheels back on. Took some initial measurements and after measurements, and looking at pretty much exactly 1.5. Truck sits way more level at this point. Hopefully you can kind of see in this that seems to sit fairly level. Rear fender's about 38, so it is still just a hair lower, but overall visually it looks way better. Still even doesn't look too bad with the stock 32. So same difference here on the other side, and then kind of pan. So but yeah, overall definitely something you can do in your garage with a decent amount of hand tools, some 21s, some 18s, some 15s, some 10s, stuff like that. So you can definitely do it in your garage. Got a set of best top rear bed side sliders that are sitting here in the garage as well that just showed up. So that'll be the next video. I'll do an unboxing and show what's all in the box, and then we'll put them on and show you some before and afters and stuff like that. So stick around, check out the next one when it comes out. So be sure to subscribe and to like this one, share it with your friends. See you around.